We are talking about relationships. This is Ace Dad Advice. So I get a lot of questions about asexuality and relationships. How do those things go together? How, as an asexual person, can you approach relationships? How do you navigate being an asexual person in an allosexual world? So in this video, we're going to answer some of those questions, and hopefully you'll come away with this with some really great Ace Dad advice on asexuality and relationships. Can you offer advice to asexuals who are physically and romantically attracted to people, but are put off by the idea of even trying to date because for them, sex just can't happen? So I think the big thing here is communication. Communication is the foundation of every relationship, regardless of who's in the relationship. If you're asexual and allosexual, communication is key. Really good relationships are built on a foundation of open, honest, and vulnerable communication between partners. You've got to come to the table and say what you want, say what you need, say what you're open to, say what you are not comfortable with. That is super important. So my advice is, when you get to that point with someone that you're interested in, where it feels like, hey, this could really be a thing that I want to pursue, have an open and honest conversation about what you want from the relationship physically. And I get that can totally be terrifying. You're opening yourself up to rejection. You're opening yourself up to someone, looking at you differently or feeling differently about you. And that's like terrifying. But in the long run, that kind of vulnerability and that kind of openness is only going to help you. It's only going to help you get what you want out of a relationship. And I think that's really important. If you're interested in someone, they deserve to know what the ground rules are for this relationship. And they need to know who they're in a relationship with. And you need to know too, like you as the asexual person, you need to know what you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a person who is going to see you as a full human being and be willing to explore what a relationship with you is like at your most authentic self? Or are they going to dismiss you out of hand and not really give you the chance and lack that empathy? Communication, that is everything. Just talk about it. A good way to do this, and I actually did this when I was understanding my asexuality and I was going to bring this to the table with my husband. I came out to someone supportive first, and I actually had the conversation with that person. I sort of explained my understanding of myself, my new understanding of myself, to a friend who didn't have the relationship stakes in there. So I could practice it and I could make sure that I was going to communicate exactly what I wanted to say. And then I brought that over to my husband. So, do a trial run with somebody safe. That's a good way to start if the communication stuff is really terrifying. Communication is going to save you. Communication is going to help you get what you want. How do you broach the no sex topic? Okay, I get it. It's really easy for me to say, just communicate and everything will be fine. Relationships will fix themselves if you just communicate. I get it. Easy to say that. How do you do it? I think the first step is really understanding your own needs and boundaries. You have to understand yourself. That's an important step. In order to have a conversation like that with someone you're in a relationship with or want to be in a relationship with, you really have to know yourself first. So take that time. Take the time to really figure it out. What are my needs? What are my wants? What are my boundaries? What do I feel really comfortable with? What are the absolute deal breakers for me? The second thing I'd say is remember to not apologize for who you are. I think as asexual people, we are expected by the world to be apologetic for not feeling sexual attraction. We are supposed to apologize for not wanting to have sex with somebody in a relationship or not wanting to have sex all the time with someone. Like we're supposed to treat our asexuality as if it is some sort of obstacle or hurdle or something that we're ashamed of. I think it's very easy in these conversations, which are scary and difficult, to enter into that relationship going, okay, like, I know this is going to be hard for you. I know this could be difficult and I'm sorry about it. It's really easy to do that, but you can't do that. You have to go into these conversations knowing that who you are and what you want out of a relationship is 100% valid, and you deserve those things. You don't have to apologize for being asexual. You don't have to apologize for the things you want. You don't have to apologize for your boundaries. They're yours. They're a part of you, and they're the things you need to live the full, authentic life that you deserve. So when you're going into the no sex conversation, remember, it's okay to ask for that. It's okay to expect that from a partner. It's not something to apologize for. Now, you can't control other people's responses, and sometimes those responses are really terrible, and they're mean, and they're dismissive, and they're hurtful. But you can't control other people. It sucks that the world is like that. It sucks that other people are like that. But it shouldn't deter you. It shouldn't stop you from living and standing in your authenticity. It shouldn't stop you from being who you are. Do you have any advice on how to deal with the fear of never finding anyone that would be in a romantic relationship only? First of all, I just want to say that fear is valid. It's okay to have that fear. It's a fear that a lot of asexual folks have, and it comes from a very real place. We are told all the time that our identities and our sexualities are fictional. They're made up. They're infantile. They're juvenile. We're told all these things that really dismiss asexuality as a whole. So it's no surprise that we would be afraid that the response that we're most likely going to get from someone else is rejection. But I want to counter that. The reason we feel that fear is because the voice in the culture that says that asexuality doesn't exist or isn't valid or is like a juvenile form of sexuality or whatever it is really, really loud. The dominant culture voice that says that everyone should have sex and sex is a human necessity, that it's essential to our humanity, that is a huge, loud voice. It's called compulsory sexuality. And that cultural noise is deafening. On the other hand, the voices that are saying asexuality is a completely valid kind of identity and a completely valid way to live, those are very small. That voice in the culture hardly exists. You don't see us anywhere. You don't see asexuality represented positively in a lot of media. And even, I think even when you think about like, hey, what's the biggest asexual media representation? It's a cartoon character on BoJack Horseman. It's not even like a real human. So you have this really loud, deafening voice saying sex is the only thing that makes you a person. And the voices that are saying the opposite thing are a whole lot smaller. It's so much easier to listen to this voice. And that's where the fear comes from. The fear comes from not necessarily that this is the right thing, but that it's the loud thing. The way to deal with that fear that no one's going to want to be with you in just a romantic relationship because you're ace is to build around you reminders of that smaller voice. Build around you little reminders, and build inside yourself too those reminders that asexuality is valid. So when you feel that fear, go to those reminders. Go to a YouTube video that says something positive about asexuality. Find those Instagram accounts or those Twitter accounts or the TikTok accounts that are positively saying things about ace people. Go to the asexuality subreddit and read people's positive experiences there. Surround yourself with the little voice that's reminding you of who you are and how valid that is, so that you can counter that really loud voice in the culture that's saying that you're not. That's not an easy process. That's hard to do. It's hard to get into that practice. But the more you do it, the more you turn away from the loud voice and head toward those small voices, the more confident you'll become. And ultimately, you will become one of those voices in the world saying that asexuality is valid. You'll be standing up for other ace folks too. And that will be awesome. So hey, thank you for watching this video and for joining me here on Ace Dad Advice. I really appreciate your support of the channel and the content that I'm creating for asexual folks. Please like and subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things that one does on the YouTubes, because I would love to see you back for future videos. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.